Today's episode is being brought to you by Untarnished, Reclaiming My Self-Worth Through God's Untainted Love. Untarnished is a compelling memoir and simple self-help guide where I give you the inside scoop on my personal journey and provide coping strategies to help others heal from their past. You can download a free copy of the first chapter by heading over to donnasherie.com/untarnished. You're listening to Untarnished Moments, the podcast that helps you shine through life challenges and move past self-defeat into victory. I'm your host, Donna Cherie. Let's get into today's show. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Untarnished Moments. Listen, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. This allows the show to become more visible to individuals who are looking to improve their lives. Today, I have a guest. Her name is Shanae Artis. Shanae is an author, healthy lifestyle influencer, and speaker. Welcome to the show, Shanae.
Thank you, Donna, so much for having me. I appreciate you.
So for the people who are being introduced to you for the first time, tell them about who you are, your journey, and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, I'm Shanae Artis, and I am an author, healthy lifestyle influencer, and I do a whole bunch of other things. But right now, my focus really is on creating a healthy lifestyle for myself, being a great role model for my daughter, and teaching other people that want to transition from unhealthy lifestyles to a healthier option. And so my story pretty much is that when I was 16 years old, I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes, and diabetes runs in my family. My grandmother had it, my mom has it, and there's other people in my family that have it. And so for about 20 years, until I was around 30, I struggled with type 2 diabetes. I was overweight off and on. Went to the hospital several times because my sugar was super high. And, the whole time I really just hated the fact that, I felt so limited in what I could eat and what I could do because of this disease. And in my mind, I had gone to different doctors. They had told me different things that, I would have to be on insulin for the rest of my life. And um, I just really didn't ever fully believe that. And I always believed that there was a way that I could work around that and not have to deal with that for the rest of my life. And as I got older, maybe toward like my 30s, I started doing research, and, I just started having ideas and thoughts like, listen, this doesn't have to be the case for me. My mom actually struggles with has complications of diabetes. So I've seen firsthand how that disease can really impact your life in a negative way and like steal your ability to live well. And so in my mind, my goal has always been not to have that happen to me and to set a different example for my daughter. And so, long story short, I just made a decision one day that, look, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be sick anymore. I don't want to have to deal with diabetes anymore. I had already been doing research that showed me that it is possible to reverse type 2 diabetes, and that type 2 diabetes is a lifestyle disease and that people don't have to live with it if they make change. And so I went down a rabbit hole of research and just following different doctors and just gathering a lot of information. Prayer and really guidance from God is what led me to a new primary care physician who also believed that I needed to take medication for the rest of my life. But even though she said that, she also connected me with a different doctor who was more of a holistic doctor, and he was not conventional at all. And he believed that I could reverse type 2 diabetes if I would do a keto lifestyle. And His name is Dr. Shea. He's an older Asian man, and I will never forget him. He literally helped me change my life. And so it was with his support, his guidance, and of course God, but his support, his guidance, everything he taught me, I did it. I followed him and I followed what he said to do. And I reversed type 2 diabetes and I feel the best that I have ever felt. I don't take any medication anymore. I lost 30 pounds and now I'm just teaching other people how to do the same thing, whether they have diabetes, high blood pressure, or none of that, whether they just want to, lose weight or whether they just want to um, just change their diet. I'm really working with people to help them learn how to do that in a healthy, simple way, as simple as possible, and provide them with the support and the tools that they need to be successful in their own journey. So that was a lot of words, but I hope it summed it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I have like a few questions just out of what you shared already. And when you met this holistic doctor, did you meet him like in person or was this a virtual thing or?
Yeah, so this was like pre-COVID. The first time I met him was pre-COVID. It was in 2019. So we were meeting in person. And then once COVID hit, I still met him, I think maybe like once or twice in person. But after that, it was virtual.
Okay. And then how did that process go for you? Because I mean, that's a huge change. And I mean, I know you were doing your research and you said that you didn't want to live like this for the rest of your life, but still there was food presented before you and then you started working with the doctor. But how was that process for you? You said that you did everything that he said, but I mean, I'm sure it took some willpower and self control. So, talk to us a little bit about that.
Absolutely, it did, and I'm gonna be honest. The first, so I've done keto twice, and I share this because I don't want people to think that it's just I'm gonna try keto or I'm gonna do a low carb lifestyle and that's it, and you're just on it for the rest of forever. No, I was even though I wanted to make a change and I knew it was possible based on my research and based on how I felt in my heart. The first go around when I was working with him, he the whole time I was working with him, he was very present. And so I would meet with him monthly. He gave me information that I needed, packets of information I took home. I studied them, I read them consistently. Like, I would look through it on Monday and Wednesday. I'm reading through it again. And I was just constantly making sure that I was taking in the information that he had given me. And even though I was seeing him as well, I was still going online doing my own research and just not necessarily fact checking because I did trust him, but just making sure that I was doing the right things. But the first time I did it in 2019, I wasn't 100% sold on it, right? I felt like, okay, this might work, but I wasn't fully at the point where I was like, okay, I'm ready to just give up all of my little Debbie cakes, give up all of my chips and, all of my Snicker bars. I wasn't fully committed to doing that, but I was willing to give it a try and see what would happen. And so the first go round, I lost 27 pounds. But prior to maybe like at the end of 2019 or right in the beginning of 2020, I fell off. And when I say I fell off, I mean I went back to eating the way that I was eating prior to starting the keto, what have you. And by March of 2020, I had gained all of the weight back. Well, by July of 2020, I was sick of myself again. I was like, you know what? I'm sick of this. Like, I know now that this works because I've done it and it works. And I need to get myself back together. And so July of 2020 is where I recommitted myself to keto. And I told myself, I'm going to give myself a full year I'm going to do it for a whole year. And if I can reverse type 2 diabetes, I'm going to stick with it. And that second go round is where the real commitment happened, where I was really like strict with myself and really just, I stuck to it. I did have to set some things in place because, unfortunately, you would think that when you're trying to make a change for the better, the people around you will support that, right? And most of it is more likely that people just don't understand. So I did get some slack from people in my life, like, oh, you trying to be skinny, and you want some of this hamburger, or you want some of this cake, or kind of like
Mm-hmm.
temptations and things like that. But I was so committed, like, to not going back and to reversing type 2 diabetes, that I intentionally avoided certain places. I avoided spending time with certain people. I avoided even talking about it to certain people if I knew or felt like they were going to try, just bring me down or make me feel bad or try to tempt me in any way. And I would intentionally, when people that I did want to spend time with, if they would like invite me, want to get together, I would try to figure out things that we could do that didn't include food. Or if we did go out to eat, I would try to find places that I would go look at the menus to make sure that I could eat whatever they offered before I even got there. So that way I wouldn't like be tempted when I got there. And so it was really just a matter of, like, I'm be honest, I was prayerful about it, and I was really committed and dedicated, and I was so focused on reversing the diabetes. And I think because I gave myself a time frame, like, I wasn't saying I'm gonna do it for the rest of my life. I was saying I'm gonna give myself a year. I'm gonna commit for this time frame and see what happens. And so it so happened that February was in March of 21, I found out that I reversed type 2 diabetes. I was no longer considered diabetic or even pre-diabetic. And I had lost 40 pounds, and I just felt amazing. And honestly, that was my motivation to keep going. When I noticed that, I was like, there's no turning back for me. That was it.
Wow, that's amazing. And during this time, were you still on the medication or had you like weaned yourself off?
So in July, when I started, I was still on the medication, and I kind of took myself off. Honestly, I've never been good with medicine, but they had me on this once a week injection, and I'm not into poking myself with needles. So I did it for a little while. I did it maybe for about 5, 6 weeks, and then I took myself off maybe around like September, October, because honestly, I was seeing improvements in my numbers, and I was just like, you know what? I know I'm sticking with this lifestyle. I know that it's working. I'm just gonna stop, and I stopped. I don't encourage that though. That was what
Mhm.
I did, but I did put myself at risk because God forbid something different would have happened. I don't encourage other people to do that, but that's what I did, honestly.
When you went for your checkup, how did they determine like that you were no longer diabetic or pre-diabetic? Like what determines that?
So they do, when you're diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, they do every 3 months, they do lab work that they draw blood and they do a test called an A1C. And that test pretty much looks at the 3 months prior. So they do your blood work and they'll check what your numbers were from 3 months prior up until the time where you actually get the blood work done, and that determines whether you're considered diabetic or not. It's called a hemoglobin A1C.
Okay. And if someone who might be listening feels like they can really relate to this, or they're in a situation where their health is at critical risk pertaining to like type 2 diabetes, what are some action steps that they could take to make some simple lifestyle changes if they're serious about it?
Yeah. So one of the things that I would say for myself, I never understood, like, when you deal with diabetes, most times your insurance provider will send you to a nutritionist, and this nutritionist is supposed to help you figure out how to eat in a way that will help you keep your numbers low, right? But the nutritionists typically tell you to eat a high amount of carbohydrates. So they'll tell you to eat a cup of rice, or they'll tell you to eat a sweet potato, or they'll tell you to eat things and to have like 45 grams. I remember one nutritionist, she told me I needed 45 grams of carbohydrates per meal. And so in my research, I realized that carbohydrates were my problem, because even if I cut out the sugar that I was eating, which is, the candies, the cakes, and all of that kind of stuff, eating the rice, eating the potatoes, eating the pasta, those things are what are turning into sugar, are breaking down into sugar in my body, and still causing me to have this reaction with insulin resistance. And so for anybody that is trying to make a lifestyle change or is dealing with type 2 diabetes specifically, I would say the first thing that you should do is really look at what you're eating and take out the refined carbohydrates as much as possible. Because I believe that as a type 2 diabetic, it's like my body is alert. My body does not process carbohydrates well. And I think that is the whole piece of being a type 2 diabetic, is that the carbohydrates is sugar overload. Your body does not either create enough insulin or is resistant to the insulin, and therefore the sugar stays in your bloodstream and goes to your organs and all of that kind of stuff. So the first thing I would say is to, if you really are serious and wanting to make a change, cut out those carbohydrates and see what happens. Because I'm a firm believer that really is the piece that has to happen in order to see change.
And when you say carbohydrates, what is, I know you mentioned rice, refined sugars and stuff, but if somebody looks on the back of a item, like what should they be looking at or looking for to determine if it is like a high carbs?
So anything that is so first of all, like you said, rice, bread, pasta, potatoes, corn. So anything that is a starch or a carbohydrate is going to be, or a refined carbohydrate is going to be what you're going to look for. When you look on the back of products that you purchase at the store, if you see wheat flour, if you see high fructose corn syrup, if you see tapioca flour, if you see starch, if you see any type of syrup or any sugar, cane sugar, anything like that reads as if it is a starch or a flour or a sugar, it's for me, it's a no. And I would say for anybody trying to do this, it's a no as well. When you look at, and that's just looking at the ingredients. Now, when you look at a nutritional label on the back of something, if you read the carbohydrates, and I would say if it's more than maybe like 5 or 10 carbohydrates per serving, I would really question whether or not it's something that you should have. And the reason being is because it probably also has on there some added sugar um, that you want to be paying attention to, and then also the ingredients. So you definitely want to look on the back of the things and check to see the number of carbs that is in a serving. You want to see how many added sugars have been put into the food item, and then you also want to check the ingredients to see if there's any wheat, flour, starch, sugar, syrup, all of those things. Whatever, regardless of what the first part of it says, if it ends in syrup, sugar, starch, flour, I would not I wouldn't suggest ingesting it. And be careful, because just like when the whole vegan movement happened, right? Everybody was labeling their stuff as vegan. And, as soon as you see those words on it, you grab it and you assume that it's good. Well, people are doing that companies are doing that with keto as well. So they know that keto is the thing. And so they're labeling things as being keto friendly or a keto item. But when you look at the back of it, it has ingredients in it that are not keto friendly. Or when you look at the back of it, the carb amount is like super high. And so be careful that even when you are purchasing things that say that they're keto friendly, that you're checking the labels, the nutrition facts, as well as the ingredients to make sure that it really truly is something that you'll want to have.
And guys, if this is something that you're interested in and you want to make a lifestyle change, Shanae has so graciously provided you all a free downloadable keto approved foods list. So if you'd like to get that, it'll be available in the show notes. So check that out. How can people's lives change if they took their health seriously to make this lifestyle commitment?
Man, I will tell you how my life changed and how other people that I have supported in this, in their own journey, how their lives have changed. I know for me, I didn't realize until after the fact that I had dealt with, I had a period of depression there when I was at my biggest weight. Um, I would wear intentionally like a lot of cardigans and, just oversized clothes to kind of hide the weight and really hide myself because I didn't like how I looked. I didn't like how I felt. It was just terrible. And it wasn't until I got healthier, then I look back, that I realized that I really struggled with my confidence. I really struggled with my self-esteem. I really struggled with, even, like I said, liking myself, because I had a lot of weight on me and I did not feel good and I did not look good. And so making a lifestyle change for me was really about being intentional about loving myself and taking care of myself, right? And not just saying that, oh, I love myself, but also showing myself that by making choices that would allow me to be healthy and to be well. And I know for a fact that there's a lot of things that I'm supposed to be doing in this world. You know what I mean? And not necessarily on a big scale, but I have things that I want to do. I have goals, I have ideas, I have, passions. And it just dawned on me, like, how am I going to do that if I'm sick or if I'm overweight or if I just don't feel well or don't feel good about myself? So for me, it was about building confidence, self-esteem, and just overcoming just those feelings of depression. But then there's other women that I'm working with. One in particular, she is currently doing the 21-day clean keto challenge. And this whole time, one of the things I've been drilling into the people that are participating is we have to measure and we have to track our progress. How do we know where we are if we're not measuring and tracking? Well, I know that she doesn't have a scale. And I've talked to her a couple times since the challenge began about getting a scale. And she still did not get a scale. So it was placed in my heart. I mailed her a scale, right? And so she got it or whatever. And without me even saying it, she reached out and was just like, listen, I was afraid to get on a scale because I didn't want to have to face the truth. You know what I mean? And so I knew that. And I knew that from my own experience, that it's hard sometimes to face that we are not the best versions of ourselves, or that there are things that we need to change, And so for her, it's just been liberating, because even this was just yesterday we spoke, but even this morning she's texting me like, oh my gosh, I got on the scale again this morning. I have actually lost some weight. I didn't realize it, but I did. And, I just thank God for you helping me overcome my fear of facing myself, And so I think that's also a benefit that God has given me the ability to support people in, is helping them overcome the fears of making a change. It's hard. It's not easy to go against society, right? Society is the standard American diet that is full of just everything that I'm telling people you should not be eating, right? It's not easy to do that. It's not easy to say, I'm not healthy, I'm not well, when we have a society that promotes not being healthy and calls it okay. So it's hard to do that, but I just appreciate having the opportunity to help people build their self-esteem, giving them the tools that they need, because some of it is not even that they're afraid to face their fears. They just don't know what to do. And so being able to provide the education and then also that support and accountability and creating that community that we have of a bunch of other people, we're all doing it together. So we're all supporting each other, all holding each other accountable, all sharing, all encouraging. I think all of those things collectively are what I do, and how I've been able to support people. And was that your question?
Yes.
Sorry, because you just asked me questions that made me just start going. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked about how living a healthy lifestyle can help someone with their self-esteem, be confident, face their fears, achieve their goals,
Yes.
dream big, and just
Yes.
live a well life, not just this mediocre life, but a well life. And that
A
includes
well
our
life.
health.
Yes. And our emotional, and it's not just physical, you know what I mean? It's your emotional health, it's your mental health, it's your spiritual health. How are we saying that, you know what I mean? We're going to do all these things and we're called to be all these things, but we are not physically well,
Hmm.
you
So
know?
true. And I know for myself, because a lot of people think they're like, oh yeah, you slim, you don't need to lose weight or you don't need to do this. But this is my body. And
Right.
I want to be able to treat it well. And so for myself, I'm doing the 21-day keto challenge, but I'm learning like even more in just the more options that I have with my food choices. And so I
Right.
think there's always areas of improvement. Someone doesn't necessarily have to be obese,
Right.
or be at risk with different illnesses, but just if you want to do better with your health. And so I know that this
Yeah.
challenge has helped me, and I do have a weight goal, but that's not all that I'm focusing on. It's more so for me like the food choices that I have
Yes.
available, because I'm a snacker. I love
Mm.
to snack and eat popcorn or some chips, but I know that's not a good thing. And then I know when I wake up in the morning how I feel when I do those things. And so
Right.
I'm thankful for the alternatives and the information that you've shared, to help me do better and to live better. So thanks for
Oh,
that.
thank you. Thank you for joining, just being a part of it. It's definitely been just a great time, and I'm just really appreciative of you and of everybody who has joined me on this challenge to live well. So thank you for that.
And guys, if you want to know all about the 21-day clean keto challenge, be sure to check out Shanae's website. I will drop that in the show notes as well. She'll be having another one starting in April, but the registration period will be, I believe, at the end of March. But you'll get all the details. So just be sure to check out the show notes.
Yes.
So, Shanae, what's one thing or that you'd like to share with the audience to help them just really understand the importance of living well?
Ultimately, it is our responsibility to do everything that we can to live healthy lives. I think that we have a culture specifically within our African American people, we have a culture where we believe that we can do whatever, eat whatever, and ask God to heal us, and He will. And I don't agree with that. I feel like as people, we have to get to a place where we're taking more responsibility for what we put in our body and for the choices that we make to ensure that we are living the life that we say that we want to live. I think that for me, my success was because I was willing to do the work. I didn't just pray that God would heal me from type 2 diabetes. I prayed that God would give me doctors to help me figure out what was going on. I prayed that God would give me the strength and the discipline to really do the work that needed to be done. And he answered that prayer. And when those people were in my life I took advantage of that and I allowed them to help me get to where it is that I am today. And even still, I think it's important that we realize that being well and living well is a continual process. It's not something that you get to and then that's it. It's like you have to continue forward. I tell people all the time, there's a difference between a diet and a lifestyle. A diet is where you're eating, you just want to lose a few pounds for something, and once you get those pounds off and you do whatever that thing is that you're trying to do, whether it be, be in a wedding, go on vacation or whatever, you know that you have no plan to continue on beyond this specific goal that you're trying to meet. That's a diet, in my opinion. To me, we have to learn to make lifestyle changes, which are long term and which continue, and they're a process, and we go through the challenges. We work, we get the weight off, we get healthy, we feel better. Sometimes we may take steps back or whatever and gain 5 pounds or whatever, but then we get back to it and we just keep moving forward with it. I think that ultimately, again, it's our responsibility to do the work. I think that if we ask for support and help and accountability, and if we get those things, that it will allow us to be even more successful. And I think that if we really get to a point where we recognize that if we can control what we put in our mouth, we can control our lives. Like food right now is it's just crazy. All of the things that we're eating and we're being introduced to and we're seeing. And if we can get to a place where we can control what we put in our mouths, I really, really believe that we can control so many other aspects of our lives. And so I would just encourage people to do that, to get to a place where they're willing to take responsibility, to find accountability, support, and education, and to get to a place where they're willing to take control of the things that they put in their mouths in order to truly control their lives.
And anything that you want is certainly worth fighting for. So no,
yes,
guys,
it is.
It's not going to be easy, but it will be worth it.
Yes.
So, Shanae, where can the audience find you on social media?
Yes, so I am on Facebook. I am on TikTok at the Keto Connection, THEKETO Connection with a K. And I'm also on Instagram at the Keto Connection _. And so I just want to say that on my social media handles is where I share low carb recipes all the time. I'm going to be starting to share some more tips on how to transition to a low carb or keto lifestyle. So if you want to find out, like, what do I eat? How do I eat? What are some meals I can have? Just come check me out over there. I promise you the food is not boring at all. It's actually pretty good. I've gotten a lot of good reviews of people who have tried it and who have enjoyed the different meals that I've shared. So yeah, come over there and get some tips and ideas. And if they are for people who do want to join the 21-day clean keto challenge, they can visit my website. It's ShanaeArtis.com. But I won't, that the next one, the one that we're in right now, it's closed. The next one will begin April 3rd, and registration for that will be from March 27th, I think, until April 2nd. So with the challenges, people have to get in during those registration periods, because once we start, we're not going to be accepting anybody else. But you guys can find out more information about those challenges on my website. And if they have any questions, they can hit me up on social media, comments, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, sounds good. And guys, be sure to check Miss Shanae Artis out. Thanks again, Shanae, for coming on the show today. And I really appreciate your wisdom.
Thank you so much, Donna, for having me. Thank you just for creating this space for us to talk. I am really looking forward to continuing to see your platform grow, and just be a great resource to people out there who need to hear your story and the stories of those that come and who need that boost in confidence and self-esteem. And thank you to everyone who listened to this. I really appreciate you taking out your time.
All right, guys. Until next time. Ciao. Hey, Overcomers. Thanks for tuning in. For more information, head on over to donnacherie.com. If you want to find me online, I'm at I am Donna Cherie on Instagram and Donna Cherie on Facebook. Don't forget to join the Overcomers Confidence Club Facebook community. And of course, if you love the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes.